everybody, happy Friday, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. I wasn't here last Friday, so I haven't experienced that we've gone back to this four-person on the table. I actually like it. I like being able to see Sinead and hear her talk. So I think this is a good change.
I actually really like it too. I like being able to see the person I'm talking to. It's just for my OCD mostly. Also joining us this morning is Perri Nemiroff. Good one.
I like this setup for the most part. What I'm not liking about it right now is that I can see Sinead's acai bowl, and now it's all I can think about.
I'm so sorry. I actually thought about you when I was at Creation. I was like, Perri loves this place, like literally. I'll make sure to make sure it looks like it's disgusting.
Oh yeah, that's not gonna happen.
And also here joining us this morning, who brought up some really weird topics of discussion this morning. It was all his fault, Mr. John Rocha.
Absolutely, I take full ownership of it. Acai. I thought it was acai. Isn't it acai? It's acai. Acai for years.
You gotta stay woke, all right? It's 2017. It's acai.
No, Josh McCougar gets mad when I say woke on Twitter.
I actually hate that.
Is it chia seeds or chia seeds?
Chia seeds.
Chia! I can't do this. I can't do this.
Quinoa. How do you pronounce quinoa?
Quinoa I can do because that's South America, and that's from my home country. Absolutely. Quinoa is cool.
Acai is from Brazil.
That's Portuguese. That ain't Spanish.
Okay, but it's still from South America.
You're like, it's the same landmass. Anyway, there we go. Let's have some fun.
It's all right. My mom says quinoa, and it drives me nuts.
Quinoa?
For
always.
quinoa?
She's always like,
Wow.
yeah. She's always like, oh, we want to have a quinoa salad tonight. And I'm like, oh my god, it's so embarrassing every time.
All right, let's get started.
Should we start?
Yeah.
All right. Late Wednesday night, Vin Diesel took to his Facebook page to reveal plans for the future of the Fast and Furious franchise with parts 9 and 10. There, Diesel confirmed that Justin Lin, rumored to be the frontrunner to direct Fast 9, will in fact return for not only part 9, but for part 10 as well. Diesel also teased the return of Jordana Brewster's Mia Toretto, sister of Diesel's Dom, but this time in a much more prominent role for the movie. Fast and Furious 9 is currently set for release on April 10th, 2020. Dennis, what are your thoughts on Justin Lin helming Fast and Furious 9 and 10?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those cases where you have a previous director coming back to a franchise, and usually, like we mentioned with The Last Jedi, I wasn't a huge fan of JJ coming back, not because I don't like JJ, but just thought it could go in a new direction. For some reason, this works for me. Maybe because Justin Lin is who I associate with turning this franchise around, because this is a franchise I didn't care for until he took it over, and especially with Fast 5, I thought turned the series into the direction I thought it should go, which is this over-the-top action film versus this serious kind of action drama it tried to be in the beginning. And so I think him coming back, I like the James Wan one, I like the F. Gary Gray one, but I felt like it was missing something, and I think maybe that something was Justin Lin. I think he just knows this franchise so well, and I like Star Trek Beyond. Perri, what do you think?
I'm kind of into it. I did not like Fate of the Furious very much, so I'm just in a position right now where I'm kind of over it. You know, I didn't think Fate was terrible, but I got my fix of those guys, family, and cars, and now I'm done. And the only thing that was really intriguing me at that point about continuing the franchise was the spin-off idea. We're getting that, so I don't really need to go back to the main franchise now. If you want to do something different, why not just focus on that? And really, it's hard to separate reality from these films right now, knowing that there's feuding going on behind the scenes with these two ideas. So yeah, I'm happy Justin Lin is coming back. If I had to pick a director to direct these films, it would probably be him. It's just I don't really want them at all. And then the comment about Jordana Brewster coming back, that concerns me a little just because I liked how they ended her character's story. And I'm afraid that if she comes back into the picture, it will not only ruin her bit, but ruin Paul Walker's too. And I think that would be the worst thing that could happen to this franchise.
Rocha?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea, I think, because of all the turmoil behind the scenes that we've been hearing. And who knows how much of that is true, how much of it isn't true. There's all kinds of things saying it's all fabricated to get attention, which I don't know why you'd fabricate this. This film gets super attention all the time whenever it comes out, any of these installments. But I think if you're going to bring back Justin Lin, it makes sense. Like you said, Dennis, he kind of reinvigorated, gave it its direction. That's why it's successful now. He introduced The Rock, which was a great thing to do to really bring the franchise back up to another level and give Vin Diesel like a legitimate competition. Paul Walker was a great companion. Rock is great competition and companion as well. And the spinoff, and you're right, Fate of the Furious feels like it was set up to launch this spinoff with Statham and The Rock, which I'm looking forward to myself. I go and see these movies, every single one. Every time I'm in there, I'm like, I wish it was just that little bit better than it is, but I still enjoy my time in the theater. But I think Justin Lin is a great choice to bring back, because I think he'll bring back a little more of the love of the franchise, the love of what they were trying to do when he did the previous installments. He'll bring that kind of energy back to it. But I also think he'll settle things down. He knows this thing backwards and forwards. He's not walking in as a hired director. He's walking in as a director who established its direction. So he'll know what to do with these people. And I agree with Perry. I'm a little concerned about Jordana Brewster coming back, because they didn't say Paul died in the last movie.
No.
They just said he's off doing his thing. They don't want to be involved anymore. And I think that was a great way to kind of close the book and close the chapter on them. But to bring her back is interesting, because what does that mean? Are they going to address that Paul gets killed? Are they going to make a big deal about that? Are they going to use his brothers to be stand-ins again like they did with the previous film? And so I wonder how that's going to work. Plus, they have a child. And 9 and 10, and then they should be done. If not, you got to recruit the kids of these people to do these adventures now and do those spin-offs, because Vin Diesel's getting a little long in the tooth, you know? And so you can only go so far with it. But it's interesting that he said, we listen to the fans' concerns, right? That's kind of a way to kind of get him back into connected to the fans in an interactive way and ingratiating himself with the fans a bit more. So I like the idea.
Yeah, and also doing 9 and 10 though, that's a big commitment. They're saying, okay, not only are we doing this one, we're going to make the next one as well with him. So he's Justin Lin's committing a lot of time. I think Star Trek Beyond, which I enjoyed, it didn't do as well financially as the previous Star Trek film. So maybe that's why he's coming back to this one. But you guys bring up a good point about Jordana Brewster. Like, I like the way they ended her storyline. And I guess maybe it's unfortunate for her as an actress that her time with a very successful franchise, like, at least temporarily, had to end because of something that happened. And then, so her coming back without him, I don't know, it's weird. Sinead, are you a fan of this franchise? And what do you think about, like, Justin Lin and Jordana Brewster coming back?
I like poke in and out of the Fast and Furious franchise. So I don't know. I feel like I care less and less about this the more that we talk about it. Which, I mean, I'm happy we talk about it, because I start realizing how ridiculous it is that we're still going so much and we still have so much planned for this. Because I really truly think it should have been done already, like 2 movies ago. I really do. So it's like it's hard for me to like even care so much, and like all of the feuding and stuff behind the scenes. I'm excited. I think it could be a good thing that she's coming back, because maybe it might change it up enough where it's like there's a spark in the storylines. And on the other end of that, I agree with what you guys are saying. It's also like it could go the opposite way and just be like, all right, well, why are we doing this? Doesn't really make sense. But I mean, I think they need to do something. So it either needs to be something big or something small, but there needs to be new life in it somehow. And the last one for me didn't do that. So.
When you look at how much money these things make, though,
I know. It's like it's not
we're
going to go
talking
anywhere.
from a story and a directing perspective right now, but really what it comes down to is that the last movie made over $1 billion for the studio. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon.
You know, kind of like this movie.
And we all go see it too. On top of it.
Well, and the thing with Justin is interesting, because he's rumored to be connected to this Lone Wolf and Cub. They're trying the live action one they're trying to do, and then also he's working on Space Jam 2. So when you say, Dennis, 9 and 10 is a commitment, you're right. Like, how far out are we pushing this? You know?
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the very non-controversial topic next.
With Justice League only a few weeks away and tickets now on sale, early tracking has come out for Warner Brothers' big superhero crossover. According to Deadline, industry estimates have the film opening around $110 to $120 million in the U.S. and Canada, with Deadline also noting that some of Justice League's projection is being taken by Thor Ragnarok, which opens 2 weeks prior. Also coinciding with the tracking numbers comes a new IMAX poster and UK trailer for the movie that finally reveals more footage from the movie's villain, Steppenwolf. We're sure to see a lot more from the movie as we gear up for its November 17th opening weekend. Rocha, what are your thoughts on tracking and new trailer for Justice League?
Well, the tracking is a bit troubling, and I don't want to get the DC people crazy. Look, I love Man of Steel. I feel like I have to say that before people go insane on the comments, but like, it should be tracking higher. This is Justice League. Like, people should be super excited about this film coming out. But I think they're still trepidatious about the previous installments with BVS and with Suicide Squad. People love Wonder Woman, so at least it's tracking a little bit higher than Wonder Woman did, but only a little bit higher. It should, with all these heroes coming together, I feel like it should be tracking at 140, 150, that kind of ballpark, but it's not. It's somewhere in between where Man of Steel was, which is 110 to 120, so it's right around that area. So initially, this feels like, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean? Does it mean people don't want to see it? But Warner Brothers hasn't released their tracking yet. This is just independent tracking of what they're talking about. And if once Thor Ragnarok comes out, which is estimated about 90 to 100 million, will the tracking go up? Yeah, will people be super excited now once Thor's out of the way? Will they be more focused on it? So I think right now I'm a little concerned about the tracking, but I think if the film comes out and people love it and the reviews are great, it's going to make its money just fine. We saw that with Wonder Woman. It's got its legs, and it lasted for a long time all through the summer and broke all kinds of records. So I think it's certainly possible if this is a good film. I like the new trailer. I like that we get a little more with Steppenwolf. I was a little concerned because Kieran Hines is 64 years old. And I'm like, how are you going to show me someone who's going to scare me who's 64 years old? But his voice is so well done. And that little clip, I would be surprised if that isn't a Joss Whedon line. Why does everyone keep telling me that? You know, it's such a great way of like making the villain interesting and clever. And so I'm excited to see how they play that out. The new posters I'm on the fence about because I don't like the animated hand-drawn one. There was one where there's another one that came out where Flash is pointing to the S, and in the silhouette is Superman. And so it feels a little like Rankin Bass, like the Lord of the Rings Rankin Bass 1970s kind of poster covers. So for me, they don't excite me necessarily to see the movie because I'm already in. The logo stuff drive me insane. The S and the bat and the Wonder Woman, like all of that logo, just all of that, because it just reminds me of one of my worst parts of BBS, which is that Lex Luthor came up with the logos for everyone on his own. And it just really bothers me that they use that. But overall, I'd say I'd be concerned about this tracking. I'd be more concerned if this tracking stays the same after Thor comes out.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the easy stuff first. I like the poster. I think it's a lot better than the posters we'd be getting. Those Photoshop jobs, they're terrible.
Yeah, they are.
They're terrible.
Yeah.
So I like this. This is a better direction. The trailer, they showed more Steppenwolf, was cool, but I also noticed they started off with Wonder Woman again in it, just like the other trailers, because they're trying to ride the success of Wonder Woman. I actually like the trailer. Now, let's get to the part that's not so nice. Look, you're right. The tracking can go higher.
Yeah.
Right now, everyone's thinking about Thor. So if Thor comes out and afterwards with the tracking, or maybe the tracking's inaccurate. Like with Wonder Woman, I think they're tracking 60, 70. It made like 100 something. If that's the case, then everything is fine. However, if the number stays at 100 and 110, I don't know how I know a lot of people were complaining about the title of this video or complaining about this. I don't know how anyone in reality can think that this is an okay number. You're talking $110 million for a movie that has Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman. You're telling me that some guy at WB, the studio executive, is like, oh yeah, man, Justice League 110.
We crossed 100.
Yeah. Bull crap. No way an executive at WB is looking at 110 and thinking that's a great number. Yeah. You're looking at Wonder Woman did what, 103, 106?
103.
Man of Steel 116. Suicide Squad did 133. Suicide Squad. No one's heard of Suicide Squad. I mean, you had the Joker in there and they kind of tricked you throwing little Batman in there. Yeah. But no one's heard of Suicide Squad. And you have Batman v Superman 166. I talked about this a long time ago, back in the AMC days. I talked about, was it possibly the wrong move for DC to do Batman v Superman first instead of Justice League, because now you're taking what people want to see, which is Batman and Superman together on screen for the first time, and you're kind of like leading off with that. And so people were saying, well, when Justice League comes out, don't worry, it's going to be huge, it's going to be even bigger. Well, I mean, the tracking does not say that right now. I mean, it could change. But as of right now, 110 is, I think, a very low number. Perry?
All right, I'll start with the easy stuff too. I like that poster. It's very much the style that I do like, that animation style, the hand drawn. And there's also a great poster on Collider.com right now. I believe it's a poster that came from MondoCon, and it's another similar type of rendering. And I definitely like that better than just people standing there and getting the Photoshop style or just like a cool hero-looking shot of someone. The trailer I really like. I think the only thing that has me the slightest bit concerned about the trailer, just because we had the same thing happen with Suicide Squad, is it feels like a music video, and I love it. I love watching it. It makes me want to see the full feature, which, yes, is the goal of a marketing campaign, but there's like this little bug in the back of my head that says, remember when this happened with Suicide Squad? And you didn't really meet your expectations. So I am keeping that in mind, but just in terms of that being a promo that I am enjoying watching and is making me excited for the full feature, thumbs up. The tracking numbers. So I've been saying that the movie's going to come in around 145 for the opening weekend. Tracking can change. Obviously, we have many instances of movies that exceed expectations and don't meet expectations. That is just the nature of this game and the nature of tracking, and it's going to happen with this one way or the other. Given these early tracking numbers, though, tracking numbers that are very directly, because, part of the reason that they could formulate tracking numbers right now is because advanced ticket sales for Justice League. You can buy tickets. There's people out there right now who I imagine are saying, oh, well, I'm going to see Thor next week, so I'm not going to buy my Justice League tickets right now. So it would make sense that it would be a little lower than some people might have liked. 110 to 120 does seem a little too low to me, where I don't think it's going to end up hitting that 145 mark like I once thought. But I also think that number's going to go up. And then I think it's just a matter of how good is this movie? Because really, we could talk about opening weekends all we want. If the movie is incredible and it utilizes, because even though there are movies like Coco and some bigger movies coming out after it, there really is no direct competition that could possibly torpedo its chance to have legs. The only thing that could ruin its chance to make a lot of money overall domestically is the quality of the movie and the buzz. So if we wind up getting a Justice League that's really good, even if it doesn't have the biggest opening, because, this is kind of like DC's Avengers. Avengers made over $200 million its opening weekend. Even if it doesn't match that, it could still be a success if it's a good movie, buzz catches on, and people wind up seeing it in the weekends after.
Yeah, 110, even if it opens at 110, doesn't mean that it's a failure. But you're fooling yourself. You don't think that's a disappointing number for Justice League to open at. It could have legs like Wonder Woman did. Wonder Woman opened at 103, and it just kept going and going.
Exactly.
And maybe Justice League is going to do that. But I'm just saying 110 opening is not that encouraging. Sinead, are you looking forward to Justice League, or are you thinking about Thor?
I'm more excited for Thor right now, but I don't know if that's just because it comes out sooner. I really don't. Regardless, I will see both of these movies. But if you think about what Perri said, maybe that is the mindset of a lot of people right now. Thor's already made like $13 million, right? And they're now, the last I read about it, which was, I think last night, Thor was tracking at 125.
Yeah.
So it's gone up tremendously already, and Thor's going to make a lot of money, and it's definitely going to be the biggest Thor movie. And I honestly think that we all know it's going to be great, so I honestly think that when people see it and it is good, that will get people more excited for the next superhero movie, regardless of where it comes from. I really do think so, because if you have a great time at the movies, you're just like, all right, give me more, So I do think that will help opening numbers. I get what you're saying. So if it might not have the biggest opening ever, I think that anything less than Suicide Squad's opening numbers. So if that's your biggest opening number in the past couple years with Suicide Squad and it's at 130 something, then Justice League matching that or being less than that is extremely disappointing, because this is not Suicide Squad. These are superheroes that everybody in the entire world knows. It should be doing much better than Suicide Squad's numbers. So I agree with you. It is extremely disappointing, especially if it has legs, and it keeps growing. Regardless of that, you want people to be excited about a movie right when it opens. So I don't know. I think regardless of how it ends up or how much it grows or where it opens, and if it ends up making $200 million weeks after, I think for an opening weekend, point blank, this is a disappointing number.
Yeah, you're talking with Thor Ragnarok, right? You tell me when I was in high school reading comics, you're like, a movie comes out and it's going to have Thor in it. And that's the title. Or you're going to have a movie that has Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Flash. Which one's going to make more money? Right. I would take Justice League in a heartbeat. So
Right.
I don't know. Just from the optics, it doesn't look that great. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, well, you can't rule out the controversy behind it with Snyder and with Whedon coming in. Like, all of that makes people nervous. Like, it's like sticking your hand in the oven. Like, eventually you're just like, are you sure it's not hot? You know, you've got that kind of feeling about it. And so I think people will come if it's a good movie. But I think right now, if you're Warner Brothers, you can't sugarcoat it. This is disappointing to hear. You should be at
Yeah.
140, 150. People should be excited to see a Justice League movie. And the fact that they're not, and it can't just be Thor. It's like you've got to factor in all the stuff that's been around the DCEU for a while, or DCU for a while now. All of that is bleeding into this. So this is the result. But that being said, if the movie is good, then you have Wonder Woman and you have Justice League. 1, 2, back to back. Then the next time a DC movie comes out, people will be super excited, like Aquaman or Flash. It will be at 140, 150. People will be more excited because you've proven there's a track record that you're consistently making better movies. You've listened to the fans and you're making better films. So this is a little bit of a step back, probably, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's 100% negative.
No, if it's a good movie and it has legs and it
Yeah.
makes a lot of money and good buzz, then
Yeah.
then there's nothing to worry about. So. All right, guys. Now we're moving on to Buy or Sell. Sinead, what do we got first?
Variety reports that Tom Hanks has signed on to star in Bios, a hot spec script that made the rounds with Game of Thrones helmer Miguel Sapochnik attached to direct. Written by Craig Luck and Eve Ivor Powell. The story follows a robot that lives on a post-apocalyptic Earth that was built to protect the life of his dying creator's beloved dog. Hanks will play the dying creator. The production is looking to shoot in early 2018 once Hanks' schedule frees up. Perri, do you buy or sell Tom Hanks in the sci-fi movie Bios?
Did you see that graphic? How could I not buy this? This is a story practically made for me. The idea of a robot taking care of a dog. I think the only thing that has me nervous at all about this movie is it sounds like it's just going to rip my heart to shreds. And I'm sensitive, especially when it comes to cute puppies and stuff like that. I mean, really, and robots with personality too. So I guess that's the only thing I'm concerned about. But if they manage to make me cry, then I guess the movie did its job. But this sounds like a great package coming together. I mean, really, we talk Game of Thrones all the time, and Miguel Sapochnik is one of the best out there. Hard Home, Battle of the Bastards, 2 of the greatest episodes. So I really don't think something like this could be coming together any better than this. And I know they're looking at Amblin right now, but it's not 100% locked. If this landed at Amblin, that would put everything into perspective even more. That just feels like it fits there. But also the fact that there is some sort of bidding war going on. I think Legendary and Warner Brothers are still in the mix. That means there's something special to this, and I get the sense that there's something special to it more so than just, oh, it's Tom Hanks. Because really, even though we know who Sapochnik is, if you put, from the director of Game of Thrones and then you put the episodes underneath, maybe that'll catch some attention, but nobody really knows him. So I think there's just something more to this than saying, oh, a Tom Hanks-led movie. And the fact that they would do this kind of story justice, I mean, again, this is a story that's made for me. I want to see this come together in the best possible way, and it seems like they're taking steps in that direction. So I am thrilled to hear about this.
Rocha?
Yeah, I mean, Repo Man was not a good movie, so I'm a little worried about Sapochnik. That was his only previous feature film. Maybe he learned some lessons, because what Perri said is right. Battle of the Bastards, that's one of the best episodes. We're on the Game of Thrones review show, like Thrones Talk. That episode is fantastic. It's the one I revisit over and over again. And I enjoy what he did with that and how he brought that all to life. So maybe taking a step back, doing some TV, kind of realizing the mistakes of Repo Man and coming back and doing a better feature film is what's in order for him. And so I'm excited about it. I totally buy it. I love Tom Hanks. I love this idea that he's the creator. Initially, when I read the plot synopsis, I was like, is this Bicentennial Man all over again? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see old comics becoming robots. Like, I don't want to see it. And people who don't remember, Tom Hanks was a fantastic comedy actor in the 80s. So I was concerned about that. But the way this is laid out, it seems very interesting, because I think it's going to have more to say than just this story. I'm sure it's going to have comments on the social stuff and comments on what's going on in the world, and especially post-apocalyptic. You're not looking at a big cast if it's post-apocalyptic. So can it be Tom Hanks? Is Tom Hanks going to be the voice of the robot, since Tom Hanks creates the robot? So I don't know what's going to happen there. Are they going to have someone else? Or are they going to be flashbacks with Tom. So I think Tom is that's your anchor for the movie, and then you go from there. So, and dogs. I mean, Perry, there's 500 million people who love dogs. So that's a smart move in there. But I think you're right. I think if it lands at Amblin, that's where it belongs. I think Amblin would absolutely know what to do with this. If it goes to Legendary or one of these other places, it could be a little bit more darker. And I think this film with Tom Hanks needs to be a little more lighter.
Yeah, I'm going to buy this as well for the reasons that you guys mentioned. I mean, Miguel Sapochnik, I don't know. Pronounce it. Yeah, Game of Thrones. He's done many great episodes. Battle of the Bastards, I think, is one of the best episodes of television ever.
Yeah, good point.
And then you have Tom Hanks, who's obviously, one of the best actors. He hasn't done much sci-fi. If you look at that list, I think maybe only Cloud Atlas would qualify for that. Yeah. I mean, most of what he's done is drama, or even. I don't know if you count Big as a sci-fi movie, but I'd like to see him in this genre. It's a genre he doesn't go much into. So, in the story, it sounds cute. I'm with you guys. It should stay lighter, lighter tone, and Amblin's a great place for it. All right, what's next?
Konami Digital Entertainment announced yesterday that their action shooter and classic NES game Contra is set to be adapted into both a feature film and television series. The production was teased with a small video animatic, complete with classic gaming score. Contra spanned 12 different games over the years, with the central plot focusing on two soldiers, Bill Reiser and Lance Bean, who were modeled after action stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. No other details, including a potential release date, have been revealed at this time. Dennis, do you buy or sell a live-action movie based on Contra?
Oh, yeah, I'm buying this one. I played Contra when I was a kid on NES. I remember the up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. That code. I needed that because that game is hard. I love all the upgrades for that game. What I do hope though is that this movie, the direction they go in, is more of an over-the-top action movie. Don't do dark, serious sci-fi with it, because I just don't think the story really lends it. Because then it's just an alien maybe ripoff, and I just think it should stay kind of more lighthearted. What do you think, Perri?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm gonna buy this for now until I hear a little more. I hear a little more about who's directing it too, who's starring in it, because once we get that kind of information, we're going to have a much better idea of what they are going for with tone. And really, I know that we talk about video game movies. Oh, it's not going to work. Is this going to be the one? I think what makes this one have the potential to be the one is the fact that the game has so little story to it. I mean, I remember playing it when I was a kid too, but it's fresh in my mind because Jeremy talks about it all the time when we do the Awesome Tacular Gaming segment. Can't tell you how many times he's been, let's play Contra, and for whatever reason, it just kept getting pushed. But just having this on my mind right now, and really, we don't have very many action movies quite like that out right now, where it's just, it's really just seizing the opportunity to have fun with a concept like this, to, cast two beefy guys and have them, mow down the enemy, and just do it with a lighter, action. I was about to say family friendly, but that might not be the territory I'm going in. But just something that is more fun and that embraces the adventurous spirit more so than the darkness of killing.
Yeah, and have a bunch of cheesy one-liners.
Exactly.
Yeah. Rocha?
Well, it makes sense what you said just now, Dennis, cheesy one-liners, because it was originally based on Schwarzenegger and Stallone. Because in the 80s they were big. They used their, you can see that's the Schwarzenegger, that's Stallone behind there. I wish this was 20 years in the future and we could get that technology that they used to de-age Robert Downey Jr. and Michael Douglas in Ant-Man and use it to de-age Schwarzenegger and Stallone to do a version of this movie, because I would love to see them finally in their youth working together on a film, not Expendables when they're in their 60s and 50s. I'd rather see something when they're younger and play it out, because that's how it works. But you're right, the casting is really important in here. I'm excited about this. They released a 17-second teaser trailer for it, and it's a American eagle unfurling itself, and at the end of its wings it has two guns shooting out. So that's brilliant. That's exactly the tone that you need. And there's a TV series as well that's going along with this, and because they're partnering with a Chinese company, and they released a synopsis. I don't know if this is going to be the synopsis, but this is what they released earlier this year. In 1988, a huge meteorite lands on an uninhabited island in the South China Sea. Chen Kuang and Li Ziong, I hope I'm saying that right, investigate but come up empty-handed. 29 years later, Chen sends commandos Bill and Lance into a combat mission there to neutralize the villainous Red Falcon organization, but end up facing a different enemy all together. So to me, this is the right vibe that you need for this. This is the exciting vibe that you need for this. You want to have a tongue firmly planted in cheek, great action, a lot of fun, and this could be a franchise if they do it right. And we know that appealing to the Chinese market is becoming more and more prevalent from studios all over this country that want to do stuff. They want to go international. So this makes a lot of sense that they're already doing this from the Chinese angle now coming into the United States. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. And I mean, like Dennis said, up, down, left, right. Yeah, I mean, that's if you were born at a certain time, you know all about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the chat, and they brought up a couple good suggestions. Maybe The Rock and John Cena could pair up and be that.
Holy crap, that's great.
That'd be good. And then they both have comedic chops.
Absolutely.
I mean, John Cena, he surprised me in the movies that he's been in, and so like I think that would be the right type of fit.
That comment has officially set my expectations. Now I'm afraid if I don't hear John Cena at least is cast, because The Rock is a busy guy, so I'll be realistic about that. But John Cena, he's building his film career. This could be perfect for him, and I love him.
All right, let's move on to the last buy or sell.
THR was reporting that Drew Goddard, the Oscar-nominated writer behind The Martian, is penning the big screen adaptation of Nevermoor, a kid's fantasy book that launches this Halloween. The book centers on Morgan Crow, a girl born on an unlucky day who is blamed for all local misfortune, from hailstorms to heart attacks. It also means that she is doomed to die on her 11th birthday until she is found by a man named Jupiter North, who jets her off to a magical city named Nevermoor, where she can escape her fate. No word on when the movie will mount a production or where Goddard will work on the adaptation between his work on Fox's upcoming X-Force movie. Perri, do you buy or sell Drew Goddard writing an adaptation for Nevermoor?
So I might actually have to read this. The book hasn't even come out yet. It doesn't come out until the 31st of this month. So I'm going to buy it at this point for pretty much that reason, for Drew Goddard's involvement. But we're talking about a book that was picked up in a preemptive deal. That means that a studio saw something in this that is something special and something worth adapting. So if they're jumping on it that early on, I suspect that this could have, because we haven't really seen young adult material take off quite like The Hunger Games, but bringing up The Hunger Games, this is probably why I might sound a little skeptical about this, is because I read the synopsis, and there's beats in that synopsis that sound very familiar, particularly when they say the main character must compete in 4 difficult and dangerous trials against hundreds of other children. What does that sound like? I know what that sounds like, but the idea here at least sounds like it could have different themes. And really, when you're thinking about a young girl who's responsible for so many terrible things, I hope that the book does delve into how that makes her feel, and it's not just a matter of, you are in that position, you must fight for your life to survive, and it's just a rehash of the Hunger Games, because it sounds like it has more to work with than that. If this book was picked up that early on, I expect that it does have it, and it's going on my reading list now, so I am buying it. Yay for Drew Goddard, big fan of him, I'm into it.
Yeah, I'm buying it as well, just for Drew Goddard. I mean, he's written a lot of cool stuff in the past, like Lost, Buffy, Angel. He did The Martian, which he got nominated for an Oscar for. Daredevil. He worked on Daredevil as well. He hasn't directed that much stuff. He did Cabin in the Woods, and now he's working. He's going to work on X-Force. But I think this movie's going to take place, or not take place, but he's going to shoot it before he does X-Force. I think. Okay. So I'm interested for that alone.
Is he supposed to be directing this too? I think I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure whatever the source article had was adapting and producing.
Okay,
but I should double check.
Yeah,
that.
I'm not sure, but I hope. I mean, he's someone that I'd like to see more work from with Cabin in the Woods, and hopefully X-Force turns out well. Rocha?
Yeah, I agree. I buy it. I think it's a great. Drew Goddard is fantastic. Has a great track record, enjoyable stuff, and yeah, he's directing. He's been directing some episodes of The Good Place, which a lot of people like. He's involved in that as well, and what Dennis mentioned, the Daredevil stuff. So. This is an ambitious log line, so to speak. I mean, this idea of being whisked away to a separate thing. What does that mean? And you're right, Perri. How are we gonna explore this young woman growing up? Because once again, we've got this male mentor, older male mentor, bragging, and then trying to use her to win this. Or what is the organization all about? Like, as long as they address all these things within it, and as our culture is changing, our pop culture is changing, and our approaches to these kinds of leads and what they confront and what they can explore socially that echo into our own lives, I think it's great. And I think this is set up really, really well. And I'm agree with Perri. I don't usually read these kinds of books, but this sounds fascinating. And so I want to see what this is all about, just from the description overall. it sounds like a world I really want to get involved in and understand and know. And Drew Goddard seems like the perfect guy because he can vacillate between straight comedy and then stuff like X-Force and stuff like Cabin in the Woods. He gets it. So he'll bring the right amount of weight to it, but also good lighthearted comedy in moments when it needs it.
Yeah, great. All right, guys, before we move on to mailbag, I want to remind you that we're going to take your live Twitter questions at the end. You can tweet us at Collider Video, and Sinead will pick out a few from there. Also, want to talk about a new series that we're starting called Top 50. If you guys have seen it on our channel, go check it out. It's a promo of a new series that we're doing where we, as Collider, kind of had a big discussion, debate, argument about the top 50 superhero movies of all time. And the list is coming out starting next Wednesday. We're going to release, I think, one video a day showing the 50 all the way to number 1. And trust me, I'm sure a lot of people are going to watch this and look at it and get angry and upset. And here we were doing the same thing, arguing over, what should be this, what should be that. So it was actually a lot of fun. If it does well, we can branch off into not only superhero stuff, but into other genres or, top 50 actors or stuff like that. Also, we have new heroes coming up today. New Jedi Council came out yesterday. We have a brand new Schmodown. I think, who is it? JTE versus Jeff Snyder coming up later today. We also have Stranger Things Season 2. Perri, why don't you talk about Stranger Things Season 2?
Oh, what are you talking about? Is it Stranger Things Day already? Yeah, we did recaps and reviews of every single episode individually. It all went online overnight, so it's all available now. So if you haven't had the chance to watch everything, don't worry. It's just going to sit there and wait for you. But it was just an incredibly fun thing to do. I was able to do it with Mark Riley and Steve Weintraub of Collider.com, and it was if you can't tell, I'm very excited about this new season. It was a freaking delight to sit there and just watch episodes and come to the table and do a review, watch another episode and come to the table. But it was a great time, and please check those reviews and recaps out when you've seen them.
And we also have a non-spoiler review of Thor Ragnarok out on the channel. You can check that out. Collider Nightmares we had all week, and there's a new one coming out today at 11 a.m. And then also a brand new Awesome-tacular. All right, Sinead, what's the first mailbag?
Jacob writes, hey guys, my question is, do you think with the advent of websites like IMDb, Box Office Mojo, and Rotten Tomatoes, as well as the increased availability of older films via streaming services, is the general public more cinematically educated than previous generations of moviegoers? What effect, if any, do you think this has on the industry itself? Thanks for taking my question.
Rocha, what do you think? Do you think people are more cinematically educated than they were in the past?
I think there wouldn't be websites like we're on currently now. There wouldn't be channels, rather, like we're currently on, websites dedicated to film. There's so many that are dedicated. So I think they are cinematically educated in this way, that there is access to all this kind of knowledge about film. And the people that work for these websites and these networks and these channels know a lot about film. So therefore, if they're going to watch, they're going to, by osmosis, retain that kind of information and have a stronger eye. And Rotten Tomatoes exists because they wanted to compile these reviews all into one, and people can go and take a look, and they want all the information they can before they spend the money. I think that also motivates people to learn about film, is because they want to understand what they're going to watch, they want to analyze it, and they want to see if it's worth their dollar, because it's so much more expensive. Plus the advent of streaming services, I think all of that certainly gives you at your fingertips, if you want it, to look at it. I also think we're more, and I think that because it's bleeding into TV as well, I think the cinematic is, people are more cinematically educated because they want to see that kind of cinema approach to their TV as well. So I think all of it, yes, we're becoming more educated, which is why we have these very angry debates, because we all think we know as much as we know about film. And so everyone thinks they're incredibly knowledgeable about films, which is why they battle, why they have fights and arguments about things, because they fervently believe what they believe.
Perri?
Yeah, it's, I was agreeing with you initially, and that's kind of how I was going into it. And then it just flashed in my mind. It's like, what if you take it? Hi, Fly. What if you take out the word cinematically and just leave it as educated? Because really, there's more things online than just movies and TV. And, would you call people now more educated than people decades ago when we didn't have the internet and so much available at our fingertips? And yes, in one respect, in that people can look up anything they want, but it still matters what they do and how they process that information. And really people were educated in a different way back then, and maybe part of the education process is having to go out and find that material and be a little more selective with where you get your material, whereas now it's just like this constant influx. I mean, we were just talking about going to the doctor earlier, and just because I can go and Google an ailment doesn't mean that I am educated on that ailment. It means that I've Googled it 20 times over and I've read 5 different explanations at least about what it is. But, you know, that is what you bring up at the end is true, is that because we're able to get our hands on whatever we want whenever we want, and I think we're consuming more content than ever, it has people thinking they're more cinematically educated, and it encourages people to express their opinion in that way. And to address the second part of the question, I think that has just made the general movie-going population more outspoken and more extreme in their opinions, too. Because, yeah, I mean, having communities like, let's say, a YouTube comment section, it does encourage you to, 1, express your opinion, and 2, to fight back when someone doesn't agree with it. So I think that's how it's affecting things, but I don't know. I'm not fully on board with saying, yes, we're more cinematically educated. I think we're just maybe educated in a different way.
Yeah, I don't know if the term cinematically educated is the right one, but I feel like there is definitely more of an awareness that people have just because, you know, the internet itself, you can distribute. I mean, back, you know, in the 90s, people were not having these discussions online. I mean, maybe in pockets of the internet, but it wasn't widespread like it is now where people are talking about it. And I do think people are more aware about how movies are made because they can read about it. I mean, back in the day when movies had like maybe production troubles or actors and directors were fighting, nobody really knew about that stuff until way, way later. But now with the internet and everything, I think people, and then I think just people are more engrossed in it and more fascinated with it, and they go and research things. So I think they're more aware. I mean, even stuff like the YouTube channel, Every Frame a Painting, or there's that other one I just saw, Nerd Writer, which did that David Fincher hijacks your eyes or whatever, and like those are the type of things now people can watch and kind of educate themselves about cinema. So I don't know, Sinead, what do you think?
I think that it also, besides being okay, how was I going to say? So I think that because of the internet, people also want to be more a part of the conversation, so it also affects it in a positive way, because then I feel like more people are watching movies because they don't want to be left out because of like FOMO or whatever. It's hard to like go on the internet and not see things about cinematic TV events, right? Like Stranger Things dropping. Like if you're not watching Stranger Things, you literally are out of 80% of the conversation online for the weekend. So I think it also helps because that there is so much content that makes people want to be more involved. But I mean, never ever before has the term "everybody's a critic" been more true than the past few years. And it is really frustrating sometimes, but I get really annoyed when my little brother's like, we have plans to go see a movie. Yeah. And then he'll be like, oh, I don't want to see that. It's not doing very well. And I'm like, says who? And he's like, people like you. And I'm like, shut up, it's fine. Like, let's go see it anyways. Like, I get that this is our job, but when critics say certain things, that skews a lot of opinion amongst people that don't review movies professionally. But like, that's the difference, because we used to read critics back in the day. Like my dad and I used to read critics in the newspaper, and then it's like they would say, I know, right? It's like this big giant piece of paper. It looks like a cardboard.
What's paper?
I'm just picturing a giant iPhone. But no, so we used to read critics in the newspaper, right? And then that would, like, whether it was bad or good, like, you still saw the movie. So I do think that because now everyone has an opinion, it makes that one bad critic's opinion amplified. Amplifies the bad opinions, amplifies the good opinions. Because I always say that every time a movie is ramped up, I'm always slightly disappointed. That's what I say about every single movie I see, that everyone's like, this is the best movie ever. Like when I saw it, I was like, yeah, it was good, but like, damn, people made me think my life was going to be changed leaving the theater. So I don't know. It goes both ways. I think it affects it negatively, but I also think it affects it positively because I feel like people are seeing more movies. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, guys, now we're done with mailbag. Now we're going to move to your live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Sinead, what do we got first?
All right. So Stephen Grant says, with the exception of Force Awakens, sequels that take a long time to come out flop. What is the ideal time scale for sequels?
I think it's usually 2 to 3 years is an ideal time frame. I mean, you don't want it too fast, just for quality purposes. Like, I mean, there has been movies where the turnaround has been like a year.
Yeah.
But I think mostly you want at least 2 to 3 years. Once you start getting to that 4 years, people start forgetting about it. That's how I feel.
I don't know. I would say the sooner the better. You don't want to be in a position where, you shoot 2 movies back to back and for whatever reason you finish them at the same time and you have one coming out within a couple months span of the other. But I think that if it's more familiar, I mean, really, look, so Star Wars is a little bit of a different case. They finished that trilogy of films. Then we had a long break, and now they're starting up another. And look at the format they're running with. We're getting one a year, pretty much. Plus, now with Han Solo and standalone movies, it could change the game going forward, too. And same thing with Marvel. I mean, Marvel is just increasing, and I think that's only going to continue, especially with how successful Thor is going to wind up being. And same thing with Black Panther. I think they're going to be in good shape, but it's like horror franchises, too. Things like The Purge and what Jigsaw is going to try to start doing is they want to carve out that spot. They want to carve out the Halloween holiday for them. So I think if something is always fresh in your mind, it's always going to be more beneficial. But then you could have those special properties like The Force Awakens, where I think the timing was just right in terms of just everybody being excited to see it and the way they built it up in the marketing campaign, what they chose to do with the story, who they chose to bring back to be in the film. So if you have the right amount of things and the right type of things coming together, you could wait as long as you want. It depends on so many factors, but I think ideally you're safest if you're limiting that time range.
Rocha.
Wow. That was a heck of an answer. I like that, Perri. No, every once in a while she marvels me with her knowledge. No, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule. I really don't. I think it all depends on who you get to do your sequel, and do they have a good script, and are they faithful to the characters, and do they bring elements into the film that expand the universe and the world of the film of the original film or the film before it? Because sequels are not necessarily directly the second one. It could be third, fourth, fifth. Those installments do matter. Those are sequels. So it all depends, right? Like, well, with Peter Jackson, he was directing those one on top of the other, right? So it worked out because he was in the vibe of the movie. Same thing with Superman 1 and 2. Donner was directing 1 and 2 in his mind at the same time. He was doing that to lay out the groundwork for both of them. But you look at Blade Runner 2040, which I imagine is the impetus for this question. Yes, it flopped, but it was 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. Just about every critic loved this movie. So the flop is not necessarily indicative of the quality of the film or the fact that it took 31 years later for it to come out. It's just a matter, or however long it was, it's just a matter of like the timing of it all, or maybe just the way the film was done. It was absolutely faithful to the original film, but the original film didn't make a lot of money either. So it's not when it first came out. So it just mirrored what happened before. So you can call it a flop if you like. I don't think it's necessarily a flop in my mind because it's a masterpiece, or as close to masterpiece you can get. But like this idea of it has to be like one or two, like Rocky could, like Creed came out how many years later after Rocky, and it was fantastic. So I think it always depends on the director and the script, and if you're faithful to the world that you are bringing back into our lives.
I'm just thinking from a more marketing standpoint, not the quality of the film, just in terms of the public consciousness and seeing it. And it works very well when you do shoot like back to back, like Lord of the Rings and trilogy. In the Marvel ones, though, that's kind of like a pseudo sequel, because really, like, Black Panther is not a sequel to Thor Ragnarok. Right. It's just in the same universe, and you have whole different teams on there. So, but you're not going to see like a Thor 4 for another 2, 3, 4 years. Right. I do think that the sooner the better, but at the same time, you don't want the quality to suffer. All right, what's next?
This question's coming up like a jillion times this morning, but Bazinga Guy says thoughts on Regal testing a new pay system. Pay more for hit movies, less for movies that are bombs.
I think in theory it sounds great. I just don't know in practice. Because in theory it sounds like, okay, cool. If you're going to pay, like a movie had spent a lot of money on their budget, and then you're going to, see that production value on screen, and maybe some other one, didn't cost that much, and maybe you're going to pay a little less. Maybe more people will be willing to see indie movies if it's less. However, in practice, I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen. What's going to happen is they're just going to keep the price the same, and then the other movies are going to, like, you want to see Star Wars Last Jedi? Guess what? $30. Right. That's what I'm afraid of. What about you guys?
I need to read this a little more thoroughly. I don't quite understand how something like that would work and what the rules are. So
There's no rules, but
literally it's just like if a movie is better or bigger, and also you pay more on the days. So like Fridays and Saturdays are going to be more expensive than the rest of the week as well.
Stop it.
Yeah, this doesn't sit right with me. This doesn't sit right with me, but it just feels like a more expanded version of kind of what we already have with special matinee prices.
Yeah.
If you're just reducing it to the day. But the thing that I'm hung up on is the flop and the success thing.
Right.
I guess it would make sense to me if everything started at the same price point, and then if there was less demand for one movie. Yeah, it'd be like any business. Then the price would come down for one, and if demand is higher for another, price would go up. But
I assume that's how they would do it. It's maybe like after the first 2 weeks of release or something. If it's just like the demand isn't that high, that's when they'll drop it. But yeah, I can't imagine that they would have it at different prices going into it. The only thing I do like about this is that I feel like this is an attempt to get more people to go to the theater. And that's important right now because a lot of people aren't going to the theaters anymore. And so I do respect that part about it, but it does kind of suck if like, it's kind of like making, like, I don't even know. It just makes me sad a little bit.
There's far-reaching implications to this. It isn't just right in front of your face, okay, I can pay less for this movie. It also means this director now can be
Right.
lowballed. These actors
Yeah.
can be lowballed. This writer can be lowballed. This studio can be lowballed.
Yeah, that's the sad part about it.
There's all kinds of ramifications if you do this kind of thing. And who decides it? Is it Rotten Tomatoes that decides it's a flop? Who decides it's a flop? Is it just financial, or is it like Blade Runner 24.99? That's a flop. I can go see it for $3. No, that you should merit. It's a standard base, and then if you don't go see it, you don't go see it. But trying to get people into theaters by raising the prices is not the way you do things. I'm telling you this right now. There's a lot of people in this country and around the world who are already paying too much in their minds for the tickets. And it isn't just the tickets, the refreshments too. And so you're going to start now jacking up the tickets to match
Hell yeah.
the refreshments.
The
That's
theater
ridiculous.
is so expensive.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
so
If you have a
expensive.
family, it's like, is it a car payment or taking my kids to a movie for a weekend? Like it's nuts. It's nuts. And so for me, I don't agree with this at all. I think it breeds competition in a ruthless way,
Yeah.
not in a good way.
Yeah, I agree.
this is also saying that this is being done to potentially combat streaming services, and I don't understand how that is going to work
Yeah.
long term. It may be a short term fix where, if let's say Justice League comes out, everyone wants to see it, and they make a ton of money on Justice League, maybe it'll work for a little while like that, but really the public's smart enough to catch on, and they're not going to be duped into paying a certain price that is so far above what we have right now. It's like if that is their goal with the system, I think it might work for a brief period, and then it's going to blow up in their face, and it could just completely crumble the entire theater industry, and then it would do the exact opposite of what they're intending.
Yeah, for me, I think the way they should go is the more what's the word for it? But like a high-end experience where you're talking about
Nicer
getting people in the,
theaters.
yeah, I
Like-
just went to
yeah.
iPic for the
iPic,
first
yeah.
time last night, and that's a nice experience.
Yeah.
You get to sit down, you get to eat. It's nice, comfortable chairs, and I think that's how you get people to the movie theater, because people need to have an experience that's better than the one they have at home, and sitting in like a crappy chair in a crappy angle is not going to work, where that was an experience that felt like, hey, you know what? This is something people can make a night out of versus,
Yeah.
like, and the price thing, I agree with you guys. I don't think it's going to work. All right. Let's do one more.
All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me refresh. Well, I had one, but there's also like a bajillion more. Hold on.
I'm gonna have some of your acai while you're.
Get out of
Okay,
here.
all right.
There was, hold on.
The suspense is killing me.
I know, because there was one that I really liked, but now I can't
Remember when
find
you could
it.
sneak refreshments in the theater? Your mom would come with those bags in her big bag. Her
Look,
Oh, yeah.
look, I still do that.
Do you really?
Dennis
Yeah.
does. Dennis does
Come
that.
on.
You're admitting
He's
that
talked
on
about this
air?
before.
We had a whole mailbag. Me, Sinead, and Perry had a whole. I forgot which one it was.
Donut
Oh,
holes.
Yeah. We
donut
were
holes.
dying laughing.
Yeah.
Of course, the Sinead donut
But no,
holes.
yeah, so I sneaked the refreshments in there.
You're a smart man.
I also buy as well. I do
Sure.
both.
So that's your way of absolving your guilt. You're like, I'll buy one thing.
Yeah.
Fair, Dennis. All right.
Yeah, you told us that. Remember, we were laughing our asses off that episode because Dennis said that he makes like snacks and puts them in some box and puts them in.
It's not like I
picture
I don't grill a steak and put it in the bag and like bring it in there.
He's got like a Tupperware of like spaghetti.
It's like chips. It's not frying a fish in there.
I had a
we had
friend.
plates.
I had a friend who used to go and she would go to the street vendors with the hot dogs in the in the gross water, and she would buy a hot dog and she would place it in her purse and just carefully walk the purse in with the smelly hot dog. And she would eat the hot dog.
But it's funny.
I never really liked that, but
That's funny.
That's how my mom used to
I had
do
a
it.
friend that would bring like sandwiches and stuff like that, and I would always be like, "I'm not going to the theater with you if you're going to keep doing this." It's embarrassing.
My mom had the theater bag and her regular bag. And the theater bag, the first theater bag purse, always had our hot dogs wrapped up in aluminum foil for me and my brother and my sister. So when we would go, and then bag of popcorn and then sodas, you'd have to like open it real softly so people wouldn't catch you drinking it and shit.
So
Listen,
funny.
Rocha, see, you lived the life. You lived the life.
I was poor.
I can't picture you as like a child.
Oh.
I feel like you've always been.
Well, yeah, because he's so old. It's like, you know.
Haven't you ever seen the baby
didn't have-
photo edition
No.
of,
There's no baby.
behind
First
the
of
scenes?
all,
I'll show you.
photography wasn't invented when
He
Rocha
just
was
shared
a kid.
you just shared a high school photo.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
I
This
remember
does feel
powder.
Like the same.
I remember powder.
Rocha's just always been like a growing human, but
Yeah.
with the same head. And it's always wearing a cowboy hat.
Wonder Woman was when I was in high school. I remember Wonder Woman. I was in high school when she was.
All right, I think we can skip the last question. We had enough with that last one. All right.
Same head.
All right, guys. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. I want to thank the people joining us at the table. Perri, where can people find you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Perri Nemiroff. Again, don't forget about our Stranger Things episode by episode recaps and reviews. Nightmares all week. We have the last episode going up today, but you can go back. You could watch the other episodes from earlier in the week. Please share them, like them, all that good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Rocha.
Hey guys, you guys find me at the Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. We just dropped a new episode this morning, a little bit technical difficulties, but on the Cinephiles, we did The Princess Bride. We went to see it at Fathom Events and then came back to my place and we recorded our episode of that. So please listen to that. And there'll be a new Outlaw Nation this weekend. And come watch me at the Schmodown panel on Sunday. Let's get it on.
Sinead.
I'm online at Sinead DeVries, and that's SoSinead.com. If you guys are going out for Halloween this weekend, please be safe and have a good time. Okay, bye.
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram Dennis.tzng. Thanks to Adam and the Cody in the back there. And yeah, be safe if you go out to Halloween. All right, see you guys next time.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends.